This is the Kyle Flood Show on the New Talk Radio 1450 WCTC and WCTCAM.com. The voice of Rutgers football. The Kyle Flood Show is a weekly one-hour program with the new Scarlet Knight head coach. Now, let's go live to the Audi Rutgers Club at High Point Solution Stadium in Piscataway. Here are your hosts, former Scarlet Knight player Eric LeGrand and the voice of Rutgers, Chris Carlin.
Welcome, everybody, to the inaugural edition of the Kyle Flood Show, live from the Audi Rutgers Club here at High Point Solution Stadium. I'm Chris Carlin alongside Eric LeGrand, and the new head coach of your Rutgers Scarlet Knights is Kyle Flood. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing great.
Well, here we are. We're going to be taking your questions live from our audience here during the year. We're going to be here for the next couple of weeks. We'll also be at Brother Jimmy's in New Brunswick. That's just opening up here shortly, and we'll be here all season long. Going to be every Wednesday night with the one or two exceptions, just depending on when Rutgers is playing during the week. But we encourage you to be a part of the program. You can call in at 732-545-WCTC. That's 732-545-9282. You can ask your questions live here as well. We are live on our Vision on ScarletKnights.com as well as WCTC. And, you know, Coach, it's probably been a 7-month period for you that in a lot of ways has taken a long time and a lot of ways has flown by. Can you believe that we're here already? And what has this 7 months been like for you?
It's been exciting. And there have been landmark events the whole way, you know, from interviewing for the job to ultimately getting the job to be the head football coach here, to having my daughter correct me in my opening press conference, which was always a lot of fun, something that we have on tape forever. And then having the opportunity to be the head football coach for this team, you know, going through our winter workouts, having our spring practice, which I know a lot of the fans got to see on our 15 days of spring show, which I think was a great experience for our team and hopefully a great experience for our fan base. And now finally to get to preseason and ultimately game week, and here we are just a couple days away from opening it up and kicking off in the Superdome against Tulane. So we've got a very excited program right now.
I mean, now, Coach, tell me what's the biggest adjustment from going from a head coach to the head coach from the offensive line coach?
Well, there's no doubt that this type of thing is the biggest adjustment. You know, your media obligations as an assistant coach for 19 years, you have some here and there, but they're not every day. And as the head football coach now, there are things that I have to do above and beyond football every day that are new to me, and I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed interacting with the media. I've enjoyed interacting with the fans. I enjoy being able to sit at a table like this with rock stars like Chris Carlin and Eric LeGrand. You know, so all of those things have been great. And then certainly having the opportunity to view the program from 360 degrees, to really see every part of it. You know, not just the offensive line, not just the offense, but the defense, the special teams, to all the position groups. And then other things like the weight program, the off-season program, the training room, the equipment room, you know, team travel, you know, everything that's involved in the program. Every day it touches your life when you're the head football coach.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, you're in a unique situation in that you get to become the head coach at a place that you've already been for 7 years. How much of that helps you in your first head coaching job to have such a familiarity not only with your personnel, the players on the field, but the atmosphere around Rutgers?
I see it as a tremendous advantage. You know, when you become a head coach for the first time, you never know ultimately what the circumstances are going to be. And I couldn't be more fortunate to take over a program with so many quality people in it, and really to take over a program that has achieved on a high level. You know, to go to 6 bowl games in 7 years, to win 5 bowl games in a row, which I believe only 3 teams in the country have been able to do that. And so I don't see my job as the remaking of Rutgers football. What I see my job as is taking the things we're really good at in Rutgers football already and just trying to make them a little bit better.
Hey, Coach, everyone's talking about his flood era now. How do you think the players are adjusting to everybody, you know, the new coaches, just a new perspective over here at Rutgers football?
I like the adjustment that I've seen in the players. I think, you know, whenever you have a head coaching change, there's going to be a personality difference. No two people are ever going to be alike. But, you know, what we had at Rutgers here are strong core values, you know, things that the program was based on, and things that I said to the team, you know, these core values are embodied in you as players. You know, they don't come and go with any one person or any one coach. And I think that has helped the transition be smooth, and certainly the ability to keep a guy on staff like Rob Smith, who did a great job as our special teams coordinator for the last 3 years. You know, in the last 3 years, we've blocked more kicks than any other team in the country, and we're proud of that, and we hope to continue that tradition. And he also worked on our defense, and we certainly have had a lot of success on defense here in recent history, and he's allowed us to keep those systems in place, and then to be able to hire a guy like Dave Brock, who has worked in the pro-style system, somebody that I worked with for 5 years early in my career, as high a quality person as there is in this business and as fine a football coach as there is in this business.
Yes. Our phone number is 732-545-WCTC, 732-545-9282. We're going to get to some questions here momentarily as well, but just one or two others I want to get to before we get the fans in, Coach. And first of all would be, you just wrapped up camp, and this is your first camp as a head football coach. Give me a sense of how different it was for you to have this experience now being the head coach with running camp and having to pay attention to all the little things and not just your one position group, but also how do you feel like this group came out of the camp?
I'll start with the last part first, and we're excited about where we're at as a football team. You know, about a week ago, for the first time in 7 months, people stopped asking me who the starting quarterback was going to be. That was a nice transition to make instead of answering that question every day. And we couldn't be more excited about Gary Nova and his improvement. And we're so fortunate in our program to have two quarterbacks who have won big games for us, are battle-tested, and certainly neither player lost the job. We just felt that Gary's body of work earned him that starting job and the opportunity to be the starting quarterback going forward. And that was a big decision. And I'm the only person in the program who can make that decision ultimately. So I'm excited with Gary as our quarterback going forward. You know, to be in training camp for the first time as a head coach was different. You know, after practice, as the offensive coaches are going to offensive meetings and the defensive coaches are going to defensive meetings and Coach Rossi's working on the special teams, you know, I'm organizing the rest of the day. You know, I'm trying to make sure that everything goes on schedule and goes off according to plan, and then I'm popping in and out of those meetings to just kind of gauge how the coaches felt practice went. I certainly have my own notes from practice, but I want their input. I want to know how they felt the day has gone and where they think we need to go in the future. And I really get my time with the team in the beginning of the day, and that'll carry forward through the season. I get my team meeting in the day, and I can set the agenda for the team and set the vision for where we're going.
And Coach, you know, sometimes I came out of camp banged up, tired. How do you think the players are feeling now? You know, you think they're tired? You think they're fresh or the legs are ready to go and head down to New Orleans?
I think our team is in exceptional physical condition, and I attribute that first and foremost to Jeremy Cole and his staff. He did a great job of picking up on what Jay Butler and his prior staff had done and really maybe taking it a little further. So we felt really good going into training camp. But as you know, there's nothing like playing football. There's being in shape, and then there's being in football shape. And for our team, we needed to get back into football shape, and I feel like we're there now. You know, we've looked fast this week in practice. That's got me excited, and I think their legs feel good, and I think they would tell you that.
We are at the Audi Rutgers Club. It is the inaugural Kyle Flood Show here on ScarletKnights.com, on our Vision, and also on 1450 WCTC, the new talk radio. Let's get to a question or two from our fans here at the Audi Rutgers Club. Tell us your name, where you're from, and your question.
Chad James from Highland Park. And my question is, Coach Flood, congratulations, by the way, on the position.
Thank you. You've been stalking me over there now. I can sense it coming now.
I'm not stalking you. But the question I had is, coming into the season, the thing you hear about is the defense being really strong this year. And everyone seems to feel that the defense is going to keep you in a lot of the games. And the question marks are more on the offensive side of the ball, between the offensive line and also because of the quarterback as well. And the key thing this season probably is going to be ball security, making sure that you give them the turnover margin. What are your thoughts on Gary Nova as far as, judging from last season, did you see enough between the spring and what you did in this summer as far as his development where you could feel more confident that he's not going to be able to make a lot of the mistakes he made last year as far as forcing the ball in bad places, fumbling, those things that really hurt the team last year? Do you feel that what you've seen, he's made strides in those areas? What have you seen?
Gary's really improved every part of his game, and I think what you say, there's some credibility to what you say. Most of the established players on our team that are returning for us are on defense, and we're fortunate to have them, and we're really excited about them. You know, whether it's Eric LeGrand's guy, Scott Vallone, you know, on the front end, and guys like Marvin Booker and Khalil Glaude, who are seniors for us, who are going to play a lot of football and have really had good preseasons, or you know, Steve Baharnas and Kasim Green, who stand in the middle of our defense, or the back end, you know, where you got Deron Harmon, Logan Ryan, Brandon Jones, Marcus Cooper, and then Lorenzo Waters, who we're going to get a chance to see a lot more of this year. You know, we're excited about everything we're doing on defense, and there's more established guys there. So, you know, I understand your question. If we didn't feel that about Gary, he wouldn't be our starting quarterback. You know, we've seen tremendous improvements, and you know, Gary Nova didn't earn this job in training camp. You know, he started earning this job in the offseason. You know, and while he and Chase were battling through spring, that's really where the process started. And I really believe that the players, whether it's Gary Nova, whether it's Juwan Jamison, Savon Huggins, or any of the players on offense or defense, they're going to make mistakes. And they need the ability to learn from them as they go through their careers. And that's ultimately what's going to make, as they learn from them, ultimately what's going to make them great football players.
Well, fans who have been with us for a long time around the Scarlet Knights, and of course a few years ago, fans who would listen and check in on the radio show will know this name because we went away from the show for a few years there, but Mo in Hoboken, one of the great Rutgers fans out there, big tailgater, and Coach, he is on the phone, ready to go. Mo, how you doing?
Doing good. How's everybody doing?
Mo, it's great to have you on the show. I'm hoping you were not the reason why the show has been canceled for a couple of years.
Yes.
But we'll find out right now.
Coach, it's good. It's good that you're in New Brunswick because I was listening to the news, and they already said that there was a flood in New Orleans. So, I'm glad that you're doing well right now.
Well, our thoughts and prayers are with the people down in New Orleans. Certainly, what's happening in their lives is more significant than any football game that will be played. But we're right now our plans are unchanged, and we're looking forward to going down there and kicking it off in the Superdome.
Absolutely. My question for you is this: in the past, we seem to come off a little slow out of the gates, and I just want to see, maybe what you've done, maybe this summer, or what you've seen from the team that might, prepare us quicker for a quicker start and to get us going from game one.
I don't know that there is a perfect way to do that. I think every coach every year, tries to gear up their training camp to both prepare you for the season and also prepare you to win the first football game. So it's not just about the first game. Your training camp, really, you have to build the fundamentals and techniques that you're going to need all season long. You can't spend 4 weeks just preparing for one opponent. You'll pay the price on the back end of that. I don't know that we did anything significantly different. I do think we have a football team that came into training camp in excellent condition and has worked really hard, throughout training camp. And I feel good about where we are. But, now we have to go out on the field on Saturday, and we have to show that. We have to earn the right to say that. It doesn't just happen because we say it as coaches.
Mo, we appreciate you checking in. As always, I think we lost him along the way, maybe a bad cell signal. Let's get one more question in before our break with one of our fans here live at the Audi Rutgers Club. Where you're from, what's your name, where you're from, and what's your question?
Hi, my name is Dan. I'm from Somerset. I've attended my first Rutgers football game in 1955, so I've been around a long time. As it was back in the spring when I asked you this very same question I'm about to ask you, my major concern is the offensive line. Because I honestly feel that if the offensive line gels, we're going to win a lot of football games. 2 questions. Number 1, talk to me about the offensive line. And number 2, are any of the true freshmen going to play much this year, in your opinion?
Again, I'll start with the second question first. I feel very good about our depth on the offensive line right now. And if you look at our 2 deep, you won't see any true freshmen in there. I think it's the speed of the game is so significantly different when you go from high school to college, and the size of the people that you're trying to block is so significantly different when you go from high school to college. It's very hard to do. Even a player as talented as Anthony Davis, the 11th pick in the draft, it really took him till about the 4th game before we could get him up to speed to start him, and then there was a learning curve from there as well. And I think you'd find the same thing if you went back and looked at guys like Jeremy Zuttah and Art Forst, the guys we've had. I'm excited about where we are. I think having the ability to move Caleb Johnson to left tackle, was a freshman All-American last year. He's only going to get better and better with experience. He's as quality a person, as hard a worker, and as tough a guy as you could want up front. And what allowed us to do that really was adding R.J. Dill to the team, somebody who started 30 games in the ACC for a different school. So he certainly has a body of work that makes you feel good about what you're going to get as a product when you put him on the field. And then we've got some other guys that are growing into their positions, guys like Batim Bujari, who really came on late in the year last year, started in that bowl game, helping us produce that rushing attack and that protection that ultimately helped us win the Pinstripe Bowl. And Andre Civil, who started a lot of games for us last year at left tackle, playing right guard, and Antoine Lowry, who started for us a couple games in the beginning of the year, has really made some great strides. And I think is finally feeling comfortable as an offensive lineman, with his transition from the defensive line. So, as we go forward into the first game, again, I feel good about it. I'm optimistic about it, but it is a group that is unproven. They have to go out Saturday night and they have to show us as a coaching staff, us as a program, what they can actually produce on the field.
Our
Thank
phone
you.
number, once again, 732-545-WCTC. We're going to take a quick time out in just a second. Couple of reminders, though. For the folks here in attendance, we have 2 sets of 2 tickets each for the opener against Howard, the home opener next week. They are tickets to the Audi Rutgers Club. If you have your business cards, come on over here to the bar to my right. There's a fishbowl over there. Drop it in. We'll have a drawing later on for those tickets. Again, 2 sets of 2 tickets for the Audi Rutgers Club. And if you haven't been in it during a game, it is quite the experience. And
I will be dropping my card in.
Brother Jimmy's Barbecue is the official barbecue provider to Rutgers football. It is the perfect destination for all things barbecue, sports, and fun. And we're going to be doing the show live from Brother Jimmy's just as soon as they get open in New Brunswick here in a couple of weeks. We're looking forward to having a lot of fun. Get your questions ready. Get on the phones. As we said, 732-545-9282. It is the Kyle Flood Show right here on ScarletKnights.com on our Vision. We'll be back in just a moment.
For over 20 years in New York City, Brother Jimmy's Barbecue has been serving up great times as well as some of the best barbecue this side of North Carolina. And now Brother Jimmy's is opening in downtown New Brunswick on the corner of Easton Avenue and Wall Street. We are the official provider to Rutgers football and are proud to announce who will be the 2012 host of Coach Flood's weekly radio show every Wednesday night. So come on down to Brother Jimmy's and put some South in your mouth. For reservations and event information, visit us at BrotherJimmy's.com. Brother Jimmy's Barbecue, located at 5 Easton Avenue, New Brunswick, New Jersey. See y'all soon.
Today, the world is more opinionated than ever before, so you tend to take notice when everyone agrees on something, like the opinions drivers have about the new Audi A4 with its dramatic redesigned LED lights, MMI with Audi Connect and navigation enhanced by Google Earth. It's no wonder Strategic Vision ranked the A4 highest total quality in its class. See the new Audi A4 at your nearest New Jersey Audi dealer today. Your New Jersey Audi dealers, proud sponsors of Rutgers Athletics.
Audience members rave warm, loving, and nostalgic about A Jew Grows in Brooklyn with Jake Ehrenreich. On Sunday, September 10th, New Jersey audiences will have the chance to experience this hit Broadway show at the new Monroe High School Auditorium in Monroe, New Jersey. Reserve seating tickets start at $36. Get your tickets today for A Jew Grows in Brooklyn with Jake Ehrenreich at chabadmonroe.org/concert. Proceeds benefit Jewish education and continuity.
Join the biggest names in music, film, and television, and the millions who are standing up to cancer. This is the moment. This is the movement. Stand up with us. Tune in September 7th at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. Check your local listings for cable providers. Stand up to cancer.
Now, back to the Audi Rutgers Club at High Point Solutions Stadium in Piscataway for more of the Kyle Flood Show on that new talk radio 1450 WCTC and WCTCAM.com. Once again, here are your co-hosts, Chris Carlin and Eric LeGrand, along with Rutgers head football coach, Kyle Flood.
Good crowd on hand here at the Audi Rutgers Club, and we are set for our second opportunity to talk a little Rutgers football with the head coach, Kyle Flood, getting set for the opener. And to clarify once again, you said it already, there is a game on Saturday as of right now. Hopefully the folks down at Tulane who have been up in Birmingham at Samford University practicing this week, all indications so far are we're going to play this game.
Yeah, absolutely. All the information we have right now is that the game will go off as scheduled, and it's certainly something that we'll keep getting updated on over the next 24 hours.
Now, Coach, we've just been talking about the quarterbacks. How hard of a decision was it for you to go with Nova over Dodd?
It was extremely hard. Both players, extremely competitive guys, both from elite high school programs. Burns High School down in South Carolina and Don Bosco up here in New Jersey. So both players have been in big games since they were in high school. They're not going to shy away from the spotlight in any sense of the word. But ultimately, I felt there had to be a decision. I felt ultimately there had to be one quarterback to lead this team going forward. And I didn't think it would be fair to either guy if I let the process go on any further. I really felt whoever was going to be the guy and whoever ultimately I chose as the starting quarterback, I had to give him 2 weeks to prepare to get the amount of reps that a starting quarterback gets. And like I said before, it wasn't a matter of one guy losing the job. I just felt that Gary's body of work earned him that starting job.
How's Chase responded?
tremendously. He's been great in practice, and Chase and Gary have a great relationship, and it's certainly a testament to the high-quality young people we have in this program. And there's no doubt if there was a need for Chase, I know Chase will be ready, and I think the team knows that as well.
And this is a tricky situation because we saw both of these guys last year, and you would think fans are always going to be the ones pointing right at the quarterback. It's the position that gets the most attention. So Gary having won this job, he's your guy, and there's no kind of wavering off that right now, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
And Gary's our starting quarterback, and Gary's got to have an opportunity to grow in that position, and he has my full support with that.
Good enough. Well, let's get into a couple of the other positions on offense. And, Eric, you were talking to me before about Brandon Coleman. You had a question about him.
Exactly. Gary has to throw the ball to somebody. There's no more number 6 Sanu in the crowd. So can you tell me a little bit, about the receivers? How are they producing out there? How are they growing up?
That's the new guy who's a little bit of a ball hog. He was Muhammad's a special player, and he's going to be a special player at the next level. And just like I told the scouts when they came here, for all the reasons that league loves Ray Rice, they're going to love Mohamed Sanu, and he's going to have a tremendous career in the NFL. He's not an easy guy to replace, nor is he somebody that we're going to try to replace. We have a very talented group of receivers, and it's going to take all of them in their roles to replace the plays that Muhammad was able to make for us last year. Muhammad had a special season. It doesn't happen very often that one guy gets that many touches at that position, but what we do have in guys like Mark Harrison, Brandon Coleman, Karan Pratt, Timmy Wright, Miles Schuler, amongst others, are guys that are going to, Jeremy Deering, who's going to play offense, defense, and special teams for us. We have a collection of receivers that can make plays for us, and it's going to be the body of their work, hopefully, that will replace the touches that Muhammad got last year.
Coach, with Mark in particular, he had a tough year last year, and he's a guy that's got incredible physical ability. What have you seen in Mark Harrison in preparing for 2012?
I see a very focused Mark Harrison. I think everybody at that position sees the opportunity. And I don't know that I think of it as a coach. I don't think of it as Mark necessarily having a hard year or a rough year. I see it more as Muhammad having a special year.
Yeah.
And what happens when a player gets hot like that, the offense gets geared toward getting him touches, and that always pulls away from everybody else. But at no point did any of the guys at that position ever become less of team players. They understood their roles, and they did a great job. And I think you saw that as the year went on, with some big catches in the bowl game. Guys like Mark Harrison and Brandon Coleman made some big plays in that bowl game that helped us win that game. And going forward, I think what they see now certainly is the opportunity to become playmakers and get a lot of touches in this offense. And I think I've seen that in training camp, even up to a practice like today, where I really saw some spectacular catches out there on the practice field.
Yeah, Coach, you talk about the opportunity. This is such a tight-knit group of wide receivers. Each day they have to go out there and compete for their position. How is that coming along? You see Miles Schuler fighting against Karan Pratt or Tim Wright going for Brandon Coleman. How is that every day in practice of those two, just competing with each other?
Yeah, they're a fun group. They're a fun group to watch practice, and Coach Brock does a great job with them, and they bring a tremendous amount of energy everywhere they go, whether it's in the players' lounge or out on the practice field. I think what they all know is that really it's a position of rotation. It's a little different than being the starting center where you're expected to play every play of the game. Those 6 receivers are going to play a significant amount of time in the game. They also have big roles on special teams for us. So I think each one of them has a unique skill set. I think each one of them sees the opportunities they're going to have in this offense going forward. And I think as a group, I don't know that they see it necessarily as a competition against each other. They just want to know that when the opportunity strikes, they'll have an opportunity to make the plays.
Let's get a phone call in, 732-545-9282. It is the Kyle Flood Show on 1450 to New Talk Radio, WCTC, and on ScarletKnights.com. Let's check in with Kyle in Roseland. He's been very patient. Kyle, you're on the Kyle Flood Show, fittingly enough.
Could be my son.
Hey, Coach. First, want to congratulate you on the head coaching job. Real excited to have you over here. Really think the players are really loose under you. I think we'll see that translate well on the field. Feel we're going to see a lot of big plays this year. And just want to say no pressure, but this year is BCS or bust, Coach. And
I certainly feel no pressure when you say that. Might be a little more pressure if Tim Pernetti said it.
The first 4 weeks we must travel more than any team in the entire college football. And, that's got to take a toll on the players. You're traveling to New Orleans, to Tampa, to Arkansas. What toll does that take on the players, and how does it affect how you prepare for games?
I think as in college football, the traveling is part of it. And I tell the players all the time, don't worry about the things that you don't control. And scheduling would be one of those. We have 6 home games this year, which means we have 6 away games. And 3 of those away games happen to be in the first month. And that's just part of our schedule and something that we have to deal with. Even when I worked at the lower levels of college football, in one season we made 3 trips to the West Coast. But you don't ever use those type of things as an excuse. We'll make the schedules accordingly. We'll do during the practice week what we need to do with the team to get them recovered from the game and to get them ready for the next game. And you certainly will never hear the players or the coaching staff or myself use that as an excuse for anything. Right now we're focused on Tulane. We're excited to go down to New Orleans and play in the Superdome, one of the finest venues for college or pro football that exists. It's hosted Super Bowls. It's hosted national championship games. That's really excited. As soon as we're done playing that game, we'll set our sights into coming back here to High Point Solution Stadium and opening up with our home schedule, and then we go from there. But for us, it's just a 1 week at a time. Each week is its own season. Each game presents unique challenges and unique matchups, and we deal with them one at a time as we go through the season, and then we kind of see where we end up at the end.
I'll be the one to say it, though. There's only one other team in Division I, high-level Division I, that has 3 of their first 4 games on the road in the first month of the season, and that's Miami. So this is definitely going to be a big challenge. There's no question about that. So let's get to one of our questions from the fans here. Your name, where you're from, and your question for Coach Flood.
My name is Carmen Zigarelli. I'm from Leonia, New Jersey. Coach, we think you're terrific. I know you're going to do a great job this year. We're really confident this is going to be one of the finest Rutgers seasons ever, and my whole family feels that way. One of the questions I have for you is regarding the tight ends. I know Malcolm left. We have Paul got tweaked this week, and it seems like the media talks about Bo and Tyler, but what about the kid from Wagner, this quarterback, Tyler Bellia, I believe his name is?
Tyler Bellia.
Is he someone that we should be considering, in the mix, because the media just seems to forget that he's there?
Right now, the way our depth chart lines up, DC Jefferson and Paul Carazola will really play the bulk of the snaps. Paul is our starter. DC is right behind him, but we do a fair amount of things in the game where we have 2 tight ends on the field at a time. So both those guys are going to play a significant amount. To this point, Tyler Croft has won that 3rd tight end job. He's been the guy who's been in there. And then Bo Backety and then Bellia would be behind Bo. What happens during a game week, just to give you a little bit of insight on it, is it's really hard to get more than 3 tight ends ready for a game. Just like with the offensive line. It's really hard to get more than 8 offensive linemen ready for the game. There's just not enough reps in the practice week to do that. So really, as the competitions unfold in spring and in preseason, once you get into the game weeks, barring injuries, you're really repping the guys that are in your top 8 on the offensive line, top 3 at tight end, top 2, maybe 3 at tailback, depending on your situation. Your starting quarterback takes a significant amount of reps. He probably takes between 80 and 90% of the reps during the week. That's the nature of football, because that's what you need to do to train the reactions to what you're going to see on game day to hopefully get the right responses. So, as of right now, Tyler Bellia is doing a great job for us in practice. He's helping our football team in a lot of ways that maybe aren't appreciated publicly. And then going forward, he's going to have to continue to compete.
How is Paul right now, by the way? He did get, as the fan mentioned, tweaked up in practice this week.
He did, and he's got a lower body issue that he's dealing with right now. And it's day-to-day, and we're optimistic. Hopefully he'll be able to do some stuff tomorrow, but we'll reevaluate it tomorrow right before practice.
Okay, Coach, let's talk about the offensive line a little bit. R.J. Dill, he's coming down from the ACC. Big, they go against bigger guys, as we were talking about as freshmen, going against bigger guys, blocking bigger guys. How's he producing now, going into the Big East, a new adjustment, new school and everything? How's he doing?
RJ's done an excellent job of assimilating into our team, and he did play at another school down south, but once he got here, he became a part of our family. And he did a great job of being humble in the beginning. He didn't come in beating his chest about how many starts he had at another school. He came in and he had to earn his job, just like everybody else on the football team has to earn his job, and he did that. And now through training camp, what we're starting to see from RJ is we're starting to see a little bit more of that fifth-year senior leadership that you would expect is starting to come out little by little. So we're excited about what RJ can bring to our team, but what he's also allowed us to do, to refer back to a prior question, is hopefully not have to bring a young guy up before he's ready. I think RJ's helped us build depth and stability along with what I think will be high-level play.
You mentioned Batim earlier. shifting over to center, something that he started to get used to toward the end of last year. In the transition itself, what's the biggest thing for him to kind of have to adapt to deal with moving from guard to center?
When we moved Batim to center, we really did it, toward the end of last season. Probably about the last 3 to 4 weeks, he would have been our backup center to Caleb Ruck, while also competing to play guard and ultimately starting, I think, the last 2 or 3 games at left guard for us. The biggest adjustment is when you play center, you are the beginning of everything. As soon as the quarterback gives you the play, you then have to set all the combinations. You have to set the protection calls up front. You have to be the great communicator in the middle of that offensive line. And it's a unique position, and we've been fortunate to have some good ones here. Guys like Darnell Stapleton, Ryan Blazek, Caleb Ruck, and now Batim hopefully will be in that role for 3 years. His skill set is definitely what you want when you recruit a center. I actually told his high school coach, Coach Voorhees, over at Secaucus High School when we recruited him, I really believed that one day he would be our starting center. And the way it worked out, it took a couple of years, but now we're hoping to get 3 good years out of him, and I really think he could be a high-level performer at that level at that position for us.
Coach, is that the mentality that the offensive line is taking, that they have to go out there and prove themselves? They have some experience out there. They've been there before. It's not like they're all rookies out there or all freshmen. Do you think that they're taking that mentality to let's prove ourselves? It's time to get this offensive game going?
I think the offense as a group has done that. And when you run the football, it's not just about the running back or the offensive line, even though they're the ones who get the credit for it. It always involves the tight ends. It always involves, when you see a big run, I would guarantee on almost every one of them there's going to be something great that the receivers did on the perimeter to help spring the runner. It's really about all 11. When you're a good protection football team, we've used the expression here in the past, it's about 11-man protection. It means that the offensive line does a good job. The running backs do a good job in protection. The quarterback gets the ball out on time. The receivers run the correct routes at the right depths that allow the quarterback to get the ball out on time. It's all 11 pieces working together, and that's the unique thing about offensive football. Offensive football is hard. You need all 11 guys working in the same direction every time. Defense is a little bit more about playmakers. You can have an issue on defense, but if you have a guy who is a great playmaker, he can make up for it. It's tough to make up for it on offense.
Let's get into a couple of more phone calls. Rocco is in New Brunswick. He's on a telephone on the Kyle Flood Show. Rocco, what's up?
Hi, how are you, Coach?
I'm doing great, Rocco. How you doing?
Good, thank you. My question involves the quarterbacks. I know you want to give Gary time to grow, but I'm just concerned that if Gary's struggling in a game, rather than lose the game, would you consider putting Chase in to see if Chase could win the game for us?
I think that's a kind of a vague question. It's a hard question to answer. I don't think you ever close the door to anything when you're making those types of decisions, because there's a lot of variables that go into it in the flow of a football game. But I think the best way for me to answer that question is, Gary Nova is our starting quarterback, and we're committed to Gary Nova as our starting quarterback. Like I said from the very beginning, whoever ultimately was going to be named starting quarterback and won that job was going to have the ability to grow in that position. And, sometimes there are growing pains in any position. At quarterback, they certainly get noticed a lot quicker. But he's going to have that ability, and you have to do that because, to play musical chairs at that position, I don't want to do that as the head football coach, and I don't think you're going to see that this season.
We've got more of your phone calls coming up. We've also got more fans here in attendance to ask questions for head coach Kyle Flood as we're getting set for the opener this coming Saturday night. The Scarlet Knights on the road to open the season for the first time since 2006. They take on Tulane at the Superdome in New Orleans, 8 o'clock Saturday night. Game will air on CBS Sports Network and, of course, on ScarletKnights.com, 1450 WCTC and 710 WOR. Again, for the fans here in attendance, you can drop your business card to have a chance to win a pair of tickets to the Audi Rutgers Club for the opener here at High Point Solutions Stadium against Howard next week. Stay with us. We got to get into this defense because, I tell you what, I went through some numbers before the show, and you forget how good this defense can really, really be.
That's what Rutgers football is, baby.
They're exciting to watch.
We will talk about it coming up. Stay with us. More from Coach Flood after this timeout from Nelligan Sports. This is the Kyle Flood Show.
AT&T asks, are you that guy? That guy who not only paints his face to cheer on his team, but then paints his entire torso? Well, you don't have to be that guy to prove your fanhood. Switch to AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network. Get scores in a flash and highlights in a jiffy. It sure beats belly paint. You have the speed to follow your favorite sports from almost anywhere in the network of possibilities. AT&T. Rethink possible.
Mobile broadband not available in all areas. Visit att.com or store for details.
Investors Bank is a proud sponsor of Rutgers Scarlet Knights football. With branches throughout New Jersey, we're here to help you with all your personal and business banking needs. Investors gives back to New Jersey's communities. Visit one of our branches and experience the investor's difference. For a branch near you, call us at 855-I-BANK-4-U. That's 855-I-BANK-4-U. Or visit myinvestorsbank.com. That's myinvestorsbank.com. Member FDIC.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
As long as I live.
As long as I live.
A storage tank ruptured, and for miles, chemicals were pushing up against the riverbanks.
This was a big, big deal, and it was going to have a serious impact on communities up and down the river.
I remember the moment this local guy came up to me and said, they call the guard out for this stuff?
You probably thought we were all about hurricanes, tornadoes, fighting Mother Nature.
Hey, it's a chemical spill. It's a disaster.
It affects the water supply, threatens wildlife.
We're talking about the health of entire communities and people's livelihoods.
You bet we're ready for these kinds of things.
We were out there with booms to prevent the spill from expanding.
We're responsible for protecting and monitoring the sensitive wetlands.
I also remember the moment that same guy came up to me and said, I don't know what we would have done if they hadn't called the guard up.
Learn more about how you can protect your friends, families, neighbors, and the environment. Everything that makes up your community. Go to NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the New Jersey National Guard, aired by the New Jersey Broadcasters Association and this station.
Now, more of the Kyle Flood Show, the weekly hour-long program with the head football coach of the Rutgers Scarlet Knights on the New Talk Radio 1450 WCTC and WCTCAM.com. Let's go back to your co-hosts Chris Carlin and Eric LeGrand at the Audi Rutgers Club at High Point Solutions Stadium in Piscataway.
It is the Kyle Flood Show on 1450 WCTC, the New Talk Radio, and on ScarletKnights.com on our vision. We had to put this on camera, right? We couldn't just, I couldn't get a night off from that. enough glare coming off my head. But,
anytime Eric shows up, the camera's going.
Well, that's true. That's true. Hey, Brothers Jimmy Barbecue is the official barbecue provider to Rutgers football. It is the perfect destination for all things barbecue, sports, and fun. And as I said, we'll be doing this show each week from Brother Jimmy's in New Brunswick starting just a few weeks from now. Let's get into the defense. I know you've been itching to talk about the defense, so let's fire away, Mr. LeGrand.
You know, with Scott Valone anchoring that defensive line, you got young Darius Hamilton, little guy, actually not so little, but a little bit. I was in that kind of position before. How's he progressing, handling, going against bigger guys like the offensive line?
That was spoken like a true former nose guard. Darius Hamilton, a little guy. Darius has had a couple of advantages. First and foremost, in our program, he's had the ability to have a training camp next to Scott Valone, a guy who is the anchor of our defense. Somebody that I was fortunate enough to be the recruiter for coming out of high school. He played in the same high school league that I played in, so I've known Scott since he was a junior in high school. We couldn't have been more excited when he committed here to play football, and he's done a great job. He started every game since he was a redshirt freshman, and more games than anybody else in the Big East who returns this year. So for Darius to have that kind of guy to sit next to in the meetings is invaluable. You know that. He's also had the valuable experience of playing in an excellent high school football program like Don Bosco, where he was coached very hard. And, one of his coaches, Anthony Campanile, who's a Rutgers alum, is now on our staff as one of our defensive graduate assistants. Their system had some similarities to ours, and he certainly was well coached by Coach Toll and his staff. And he certainly had his dad to lean on, who was a former NFL defensive lineman. So he certainly has been trained from the very beginning by good people. He's as high a character and high a quality of person as you could find in a recruiting class, and somebody who has transitioned to college football. I don't want to say he's transitioned with ease, because nobody transitions to college football with ease, but it has never looked like it was too big for him since the first day he was out there in practice, and he's gotten a little bit better each day. And I know we started him at defensive end, and then we kind of slid him inside to play defensive tackle. And despite the fact that he's not the 280 or 90 pound defensive lineman that I think someday he may be, he is able to play with great leverage, and he does a great job with his hands. And if you do that as a defensive lineman, as you know, you can overcome whatever weight issues you may have.
This question is kind of for both of you because fans who remember when Eric was a true freshman, he bounced back and forth. He played a little fullback, he played some linebacker, and settled in on defensive line. But playing as a true freshman on the defensive line, like Darius is going to be getting some reps here, what is the biggest thing that he needs to learn? Is it about leverage? What is it?
It is actually about leverage. Right away, I knew when I had to go against Ryan Blasek, and he just tried to run down the field and reach block me, and I just got trapped. I didn't know what I was doing out there. It's about leverage, getting under the guy, getting the hands inside of him so you can hold him, and just using your strength that you have. It may be a little bit smaller, but if you use that leverage on that guy, you honestly can control your gap.
When you watch him, is he everything that you thought he was going to be?
Darius came here, certainly with a lot of fanfare, with a lot of recruiting, ranking, stars, that type of thing. We wanted Darius in our program first and foremost because of the quality of the person he was. Yeah. He certainly was a great football player in high school. I'm not trying to devalue that, but he was the right person for Rutgers, and that ultimately is more important than how good or how productive he was as a high school football player. Anything above and beyond that, I tell everybody, I don't put any expectation level on any of the freshmen. Like I stated before, guys like Anthony Davis and Jeremy Zutah, two of the more talented guys that I had the opportunity to coach here, they did not start their first game at Rutgers. It took them a little bit of an adjustment period before they could get up to speed. So it's hard. And I think the closer you are to the line of scrimmage, other than quarterback, the harder it gets to be a college offensive lineman in your first year.
Let's get a question from the crowd here, and this gentleman here is up next. Sir, your name, where you're from, and your question.
How you doing, Chris? This is James from Manasquan. Kyle, I had a question for you. You're following up Greg Schiano, who tried to put this program on the map, really put a stamp on the program with his defensive presence, being that defensive mastermind. What I want to know is I'm really excited about the Flood era. What's going to be the stamp of the Flood era? What's the nation going to recognize about a Kyle Flood team playing football here in the Banks?
I think what I want the nation to recognize, or what I would want anybody to recognize who watches us play, is the passion that our players play with. To me, it's not about Kyle Flood putting his stamp on a football program. Our football program at Rutgers is much bigger than any one coach, no matter who that is, and it will go forward that way well after I'm done being the head football coach here. But I think what I want, if you're asking me what I want people to say about my football team, the first thing I always want people to say about the football team that I coach is how hard they play, how hard they run to the football, how physical they are. And I not only do I want the people watching the game to say that, I would like our opponents to say that.
We've got time to get some more phone calls in, so give us a call at 732-545-9282, 732-545 WCTC. How good is it to have Kasim Green back on the field?
Oh, yeah. It certainly makes me smile when I go to the practice field every day to see Kasim Green and Steve Baharnis line up in the middle of that defense. It's certainly a positive for our football team. And like I said, on defense, we're fortunate to have those types of players at every level of the defense. Whether it's Scott Vallone, Marvin Booker, Khalil Glaude up front, or Steve and Kasim on the second level, or Duran and Logan Ryan on the back end, Brandon Jones, guys that are established players. And certainly Rutgers has a great tradition of defense, and we're looking forward to continue that tradition of the Rutgers defense.
Last time we saw Kasim Green against another opponent, he went down with the ankle injury. How did this offseason go for him? He couldn't lift right away, run right away. So how do you think he was productive, so far?
He recovered well. And he recovered so well that to the point where he tried to sneak into a drill late in spring practice, and I had to throw him out, which was a testament to how badly he wants to play football and how much he loves it. And I know nobody in the program was more excited to come out for that first practice than Kasim Green was, and there's no doubt in my mind that he's 100%. He's ready to go. And I really believe he can be better. And the reason I say that is because last year was his first year playing linebacker. He was a converted safety. Now that he's had a second year at the position, a second year in the system, playing that linebacker spot, there's no reason to believe that somebody who works as hard as he does every day can't be a little bit better, even when you're the returning player of the year in the Big East.
Well, Rob Smith's defense looks similar to what we've seen before. What are kind of his defensive philosophies?
Yeah, Rob Smith's defense will look similar, and that was one of the things that made him so important to me. And there will be little subtle differences that people will see unfold as the season goes on, but the core of the Rutgers defense is intact. And I know exactly how smart and skilled a defensive coordinator Rob is, because I actually coached against him when he was at Maine. Mm-hmm. So he's as fine a defensive mind as there is in college football. But he believes in our system as well. So, even when he had the opportunity to be the defensive coordinator, it was never about changing the system. There will be subtle differences because you always want to accentuate who your best playmakers are, whether it's offense, whether it's defense, or whether it's special teams. But the core of the Rutgers defense is intact.
We'll take a timeout right now. We come back, a couple of more questions, and we will preview Rutgers and Tulane on Saturday. More from Coach Flood after this break. From Nelligan Sports, this is the Kyle Flood Show.
Homeowners, did you know a burglar can break into your home and get away in just 5 quick minutes? A locked door may not be enough to keep a thief out of your home. Think about what you can lose, then think about this. Now you can get a free security system monitored by ADT, the leader in home security. Pick up your phone now and get free hardware, free medical and fire alert, and free activation. That's an $850 value. Just call Protect Your Home, your authorized ADT dealer at 1-866-588-8167. You'll get 24-hour protection. And there's no cost for parts or activation. Call now about a free security system monitored by ADT. Call 1-866-588-8167. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $35.99 per month. Call for terms and conditions to this offer and protect your home license numbers. Call now, 1-866-588-8167. Once more, that's 1-866-588-8167.
It's the return of Football USA this Saturday on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC. When you want the latest on college and the high school ranks, Football USA is the place to be. Join Tom Ortuso and me, Mike Pavlichko, at 4 o'clock. We'll preview Rutgers opener at Tulane, the Big East Top 25, and the Central Jersey high school scene. That's Football USA, Saturday at 4 on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC and WCTCAM.com, the voice of Central Jersey sports.
Here's what's trending right now at WCTCAM.com.
Join the WCTCAM.com talk team for the chance to win a $100 gift card to Forge Jewelers.
With Barry Berman, the legendary jeweler.
You must be a member of the WCTCAM.com talk team to qualify, so sign up now. Be sure to visit iTunes or the iStore on your phone to download your free WCTC iPhone app and take WCTC along with you wherever you go.
Now, back to the Audi Rutgers Club at High Point Solutions Stadium in Piscataway for more of the Kyle Flood Show on that new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC and WCTCAM.com. Once again, here are your co-hosts, Chris Carlin and Eric LeGrand, along with Rutgers head football coach, Kyle Flood.
Couple of more minutes to get your questions in. You can give us a call at 732-545-WCTC. Or you can ask them right here in person. We have one ready to go. Sir, your name, where you're from, your question.
Yes, good evening. Joe Junda from East Hanover. Coach, we've talked about the defense. We've talked about the receivers. We've talked about the tight ends. We've talked about the offensive line. No one has talked about the running backs. Obviously, I'm sure you would agree to be successful, you need an effective running game. We have a prize recruit who came in last year. Got off to a slow start. Now you have 2 running backs that I assume you're going to share carries with. Can you give the fans maybe just an idea of what you've seen out of them in the spring, maybe what people should be expecting out of Savon this year as opposed to what we saw last year in terms of a few fumbles early in the season?
I think what you'll see at that position is 2 players who are going to give us a much more consistent performance, and that is the most valuable thing to me as the head football coach is consistency. As long as I know what I'm going to get from a player, then as a coaching staff, we can make a decision as to how we want to use them and what way they can impact the game, in a positive way for us, as a football team. I'm excited about both guys for different reasons. Juwan Jamison showed us some things late in the year last year, the ability to make people miss, had some big games, whether it was Cincinnati, whether it was the bowl game. He did some things that were significant, against good defenses. And I'm excited about what Savon's been able to do through the spring and through training camp. I think he's much more improved in our system. And again, I always try to caution people against, what their expectation level may be based on recruiting. We don't recruit any players here that we don't think can help us win the national championship. That's part of the criteria. So every player we recruit, regardless of what people on the outside may rank them, we're recruiting them because we feel they can help us win a national championship. And everybody's career develops at a different speed. But what I've seen from Savon through the spring, through the summer, and now through training camp, is a guy who's really becoming a fine running back, and someone who's certainly going to get a lot of chances to show that to everybody this season.
Oh, Mike, can we turn his mic up one time? Go ahead.
Just one last question. How do you feel about the health of the team at this part as we begin the season? And secondly, how do you define, or how would you measure the team speed of this year's squad versus the last 5 years?
I feel good about the health of the team. You know, I would like everybody to be healthy at this point. I think every coach would. But, again, you know, when you practice in football, at times there are going to be injuries, and they're going to happen. And whether it's a guy like Darryl Stevenson, unfortunately, who, you know, we held out of spring for one reason, and now, unfortunately, is going to miss this season for another reason. You know, those things happen in football, and you can't guard against every one of them. You try to be smart in practice, and we educate our players on how to do that. But, you know, again, on the whole, I feel good about it, but at the same time, we are going to go into each game with the players that are available, and we're going to have a plan that, if executed, hopefully will help us win that football game. You know, we're never going to make an excuse because any particular player or players, you know, are not available to us, you know, because of injury. You know, I like our team speed. I think we've got a fast football team. You know, what I can't judge is the people we're going to play against. You know, their coaches have to do that. So, you know, I feel good about where we're at, and we're going to see on Saturday night, hopefully, where we are, and then we'll move on from there.
Okay, Tulane, Saturday night, and they've got a new head coach in Curtis Johnson, former wide receivers coach for the New Orleans Saints. How difficult is this to prepare for a group that you can see the personnel on tape, but not necessarily what they're going to run?
There's no doubt it presents some very unique challenges to us as a coaching staff. You know, Curtis Johnson was part of an offensive staff that produced one of the most prolific offenses in the history of NFL football. You know, a Super Bowl champion offense. He's also somebody who was on the staff of a national championship offense when he worked at the University of Miami. So, you know, we're talking about a head football coach who knows about offense. He knows about championship offense and record-breaking offense, and he's got some weapons. He's got 2 receivers back that have significant statistics. He's got a running back that rushed for over 900 yards. He's got a fifth-year senior quarterback, and again, the experience at that position is invaluable. He's had a lot of opportunities to learn football over those 5 years. Now being the guy who gets to run an offense with input from Curtis Johnson and what he did at the New Orleans Saints. So we have some very unique challenges for us because we don't have any tape. You know, we have, again, what is our estimated guesses or conjectures about what we may see. But in a first game, coaching against a new staff and a staff that really came from a couple different places, we really need to be able to execute our base plays. And if we can execute our base plays, that'll give us an opportunity to move the football.
I remember a few years back when Tulane came up here, the team felt like, you know, they walked away with the one. Do you feel like there's any revenge, bad blood against Tulane now, heading down to their stadium, going against them in their house, and want to pull away with a win?
You'd have to ask the players if they felt like that. I see it as a different team. You know, I think their players. There's a couple of guys that are back again, but for the most part, their team is significantly different. I think our team is significantly different. You know, there may be some extra motivation for some of the players that were in that game and played in that game. But, you know, it's 2 years removed. There's a lot of different pieces. We have a new coaching staff. They have a new coaching staff. You know, one of the hardest things to do in college football is to go on the road and win. You know, so we've got enough motivation there to I think carry us through the week. I don't think we need anything external to that.
Well, the hour has flown by. But, Coach, it's great to have a radio show, great to have all our fans come out and have an opportunity to be a part of this, and we're looking forward to this each and every week. We'll be back here next Wednesday night at the Audi Rutgers Club, but good luck in New Orleans on Saturday night.
I appreciate that, and I look forward to seeing everybody next week. Hopefully come back, and then certainly at High Point Solutions Stadium after that.
Eric, we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Good luck, Coach.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks so much, everybody, for coming out and joining us here on ScarletKnights.com and on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC. We'll see you Saturday night, Rutgers and Tulane from New Orleans. Have a great night, everybody.
The Kyle Flood Show, the weekly hour-long program with the Rutgers head football coach, has been a sports presentation of the New Talk Radio 1450 WCTC and WCTCAM.com, the voice of the Scarlet Knights.